Welcome to the Iron Edge. Very excited to have this week's guest on. We are talking a little bit of like a different strain this week instead of an athlete profile. We're actually talking to one of my friends, Mike Lohman, and he's starting a new project called the Veterans Strongman Association. We want to use this platform to educate everyone on what this is, promote it, all that sort of stuff. So, Mike, hey, thanks for coming on. Very excited to sit and talk with you about this.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course, man. So for everyone listening, just give me a little background on you. Obviously I know you through Strongman,
Sure.
but just give me a little background for everyone listening and how then we'll dive into the VSA stuff.
So real quick, I'm about the most mediocre, average, washed up master strongman there ever was. I didn't get into the sport until my early 40s, but I fell in love with it instantly. Never won anything big. I went to nationals a few times and then did okay. But I really fell in love with the sport, mainly because of the people, the community that we have. It's a great sport. It's a very welcoming sport. Some of my very, closest friends now that I've met and known now for the past, 10, 12, 15 years are all through Strongman. The first half of my professional career was kind of in the white collar world, marketing and in PR, and did a midlife career change back in 2018. So I'm a full-time strength conditioning coach now. I train at a sports performance gym here in the town where I live in Elmhurst, Illinois. I still train strongman out of Chicago Barbell Compound on the weekends. So I've been in it for a while. As you know, our mutual friend, Ken McClellan, we wrote a book a couple of years ago about how to train strongman for masters athletes. So kind of a jack of all trades. And now I'm diving into this nonprofit project. I never really had any desire to be a small business owner, but that's kind of what it is. It's very entrepreneurial.
Yeah, 100%.
To start up a nonprofit, but I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. Give us like the rundown of VSA. Obviously, I mentioned that it's for veterans, but there's a whole host of more detail to fill in with that. So,
Yep,
I will give the floor to yourself.
Okay. I think most people know this. Veteran suicide is a national crisis in the United States. 6,400 veterans are taking their own lives every year, which is way too many, a really high number. Everyone talks about, 22 veterans a day on average. So we'd like to see that number come down. And the way this whole thing started was like 5 years ago, 2021, an Army veteran by the name of Richard Bevins took his own life. Richard Bevins was a platoon mate of Lee Woody, Masters Pro Strongman, a very close friend of mine. And in 2022, Lee hosted a memorial benefit competition for Bevins. We raised money for Mission 22, raised about $4,000 or $5,000, I believe. And I remember sitting with Lee at IHOP the next morning after the competition, just kind of spitballing and shooting the breeze and saying, how can we somehow take strongman and bring it to veterans and use this, for the betterment of the veteran population. Because Bevins was, according to Lee, always very strong, very physically active guy, as most, people are in the Army and Marines. Lee had been trying to get Bevins to connect with Ken McClellan because Ken at the time owned the Anvil in Cedar Rapids where Bevins lived. Lee was convinced if he'd have been able to get Bevins into the Anvil, he would have grabbed onto strongman and it would have given him kind of something to focus on and to pursue.
Yeah.
It never worked out. And so, Bevins committed suicide. But, sitting there at IHOP, we kind of cooked up this idea of raising awareness among the veteran population of the sport of strongman. And I think the reasons why strongman is push, pull, carry, and load. Those are the four, core movements, right? And when you look at the different branches of the military, every branch has their own physical requirements to get in. How many push-ups in a minute, how many sit-ups in a minute, a timed run, a timed plank, things like that. And when you dig into each branch and their respective special forces groups, there's even more, specialized physical training and requirements. I know the Army has the Army Combat Fitness Test. The Marines have the Marine Combat Fitness Test. And, when you look at those tests, Marines, for example, they've got an ammo can lift. You've got an ammo can, you're lifting it as many times as you can, for max reps, I believe. So that's an overhead press. They also have something called maneuver under fire. And the Army's combat fitness test has a 3-rep max deadlift with a trap bar. They've got a sprint drag carry. So when you think about what we do in strongman, pressing a log, dragging a sandbag, these push, pull, carry, load movements are all part of what we're already doing. It's very transferable. Exactly. Right. And so we feel that if we can create that awareness among the veteran population, they're going to want to come and give this stuff a try, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. And then obviously, with what you're talking about with the community from Strongman, I mean, obviously, like, you and I have spoken about this stuff in the past, and, we never served, either of us.
Right.
But it's very evident, the brotherhood and the community in military, circles.
Yeah, one of our board members is a retired colonel. He calls it the tribal brotherhood. The tribal brotherhood of the military kind of is very evident with the tribal brotherhood of strongman. Yeah.
I mean, it meshes very well from a logistical standpoint. So with this, run me through it. Like, run me through. Like, obviously, we're not. I know you and I have spoken about this, and it's not a case of we're a federation like USS, like Strongman Corp. It's more of a community project versus a strength or a Strongman federation.
Yeah, I want to be very clear. We are not trying to compete, nor do I want to compete with Strongman Corporation or USS or any other federation that is, sanctioning and hosting competitions, every weekend. That's not the game we want to get into and the game we want to play. I mean, I think those guys are doing a good job. So, go for it. Sure. But no, for us, our main activities, there's 4 things really. Number one, first and foremost, it is to provide coaching to the veterans who want it. So like if you go to our website, there's an application to get a coach, right? So provide that free coaching to give these men and women who want the training some guidance. We're going to use an app called Train Heroic. And I've actually been in conversation with Chad Coy about a partnership with Parisi Speed School. They specialize in youth athletic development. But, Chad and I are talking about some way to bring, them into this, because this Train Heroic app is how we're going to deliver our programming. And the reason for that is, I can't be chasing down our coaches for Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, Google spreadsheets, and try to put together some sort of like coherent report when I'm applying for a grant or when I'm trying to pitch a donor on making a big donation. I can't be chasing, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
you need proper metrics.
Yes. So the app allows us to, collect data and show, compliance, and shows, how many coaches, how many athletes, so on and so forth. But number one, first and foremost, it's providing the veterans who want it with that coaching. Number two, we want to get out there and, again, educate the masses, whether it's us going to a base or to a gym that's, near a base, or a college or university that has an ROTC program. But basically go out and do strongman seminars, introduction to strongman seminars, take a log, take a pair of farmer's handles, a yoke, some sandbags, and talk about the sport, let them know what the opportunities are and let them get hands-on with some of the equipment. Third thing are what we're calling Bevan's Endurance Challenges. And most people are familiar in the fitness industry with CrossFit and the Murph and some of their hero workouts. So a Bevan's Endurance Challenge is our version. It's the VSA version of the Murph. Now, the Murph happens every year on Memorial Day. The Bevan's Endurance Challenge can happen at any time. So if you've got, again, a gym or a group that wants to put one of these things on, you hit us up on the website. We'll help you organize it. I've actually got 3 already scheduled for this year, July 18th, October 3rd, and November 7th. But a Bevan's Endurance Challenge is named after Richard Bevans, Lee's friend who took his own life. And we wanted to honor his memory by doing these. And it kind of came from that aspect, wanting to, have his legacy live on, but also Brad Carell, another 50-plus master strongman, about 5 years ago started something called the Strength for Strength Yoke Challenge. The Strength for Strength Yoke Challenge was a 5-hour yoke carry where you and a team of people would get under a yoke and carry that thing for 5 hours, taking turns, every minute. I did it in 2023 and ended up a year later with a new hip. So,
that's rough.
Yeah, no one needs to carry a heavy yoke for 5 hours. So we took the concept of that and wanted to make it more palatable, more accessible to the masses. So you don't have to be a strongman athlete to do one of these Bevins endurance challenges. It is a 2 hour and 20-minute team carry event. So you can do it with a partner, or you can do it with a team of 4 or 5 athletes. And the only difference there is if you do it with a partner, you're going to carry whatever you're carrying for an hour and 10 minutes. Long time. If you're doing it with a team of 4 or 5, you're going to carry that thing for 28 minutes or 35 minutes. And the thing can be a pair of dumbbells, a pair of kettlebells. It could be a sandbag that weighs, 30, 40, 50 pounds. Or if you are a strongman athlete and you want to challenge yourself, maybe it's a 100-pound sandbag, 150-pound sandbag. Maybe it is a 200-pound yoke, or a pair of farmer's handles that weigh 100 pounds each. It's adjustable, adaptable, scalable to your level of fitness, right? But the idea is for 2 hours and 20 minutes, just like the strength for strength yoke challenge, you're going to carry that weight as a symbol or as a metaphor for the burdens of anxiety, suicidal thoughts, anger, depression, all these mental health issues that a lot of veterans struggle with. It's symbolic of that. So it's that shared struggle, right, for those 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the idea is, again, anybody can do these any time of year. We're doing one in a high school football stadium. We're doing a couple more at gyms where I've got contacts. But if anybody is watching this and they're interested, hit me up. Let's schedule one. So that's the third thing. And then fourth, final thing is competitions. We do want to offer our veteran athletes, our members, an opportunity to compete. And two of these there's 2 competitions. One will be in person. So we'll make it like an invitational for all of our members. And then the other will be virtual. The rationale there is if we do an in-person competition in Chicago or Boston or Miami or Atlanta, and not everybody can make it to that competition, well, we're going to have this virtual one that anybody can participate in from anywhere, whether you're in, the military and you're deployed somewhere overseas, or whether you're just in the US and you can't make it. And those will run very similar to OSG and their online qualifier, or, Rogue Fitness does their different,
the
virtual challenges. Kind of like that. Yeah, exactly. But those are the 4 main activities we're going to do.
Got you. So talk to me about the coaching stuff. Or actually, before we get into that, let's talk about the setup of their organization, because that might make things a little bit easier when we get to the coaching. So I know we've got you've got the active. You guys, you call it the active members, and then the supporting members.
Supporting,
is that correct?
Yep, you got it. So there's 2 types of memberships: active or supporting. An active member is basically anybody who is military, whether you're a veteran, whether you're still in, whether you're in the reserves, but active membership is for the military folks. And that is because we want to keep our competitions eligible just to those folks and not to, general population, civilian, strongman. The supporting members can be anybody. You, me, my mom and dad, my wife, like anybody who hasn't served. If you're a civilian, but you have a soft spot and you support veterans and veteran causes, then, please feel free to sign up for a membership. And I should add, membership is free, whether you're active or supporting. There is no cost to join. We're just trying to collect contact information and build our mailing list, for emails and grow that database. So right now, I think we've got maybe just under 100 members over the last couple of weeks since we announced this thing. Cool. But looking to grow that. But that's the key distinction is, active or supporting membership. Yep.
So then what does the supporting member like? Obviously, it's supporting veterans and all that sort of stuff. Is there any other benefits for them from a perspective of community involvement and things of that nature?
Not really, but I guess going back to the competitions, we want to keep the 2 competitions as an opportunity that's exclusive for our active members. But then, for example, the Bevins Endurance Challenge, we want to use that as an opportunity to bring together the active and supporting members, so the veterans who participate show up and they feel the love and they feel the support from the civilian population. So,
got you. Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
So with that, let's talk about the other benefits of active membership. Let's dive into the coaching side of stuff, because I know there's a lot to sort of discuss on that level, or that sort of branch of it. With regard to how you apply for coaching,
what it takes,
what it takes if you want to be a coach with VSA, all that sort of stuff.
Yep. So basically, I would say you and I both know plenty of people that win a novice competition, or maybe they win OSG, right? And then a week later, they're selling themselves as a coach. And I don't begrudge anybody the right or the need to make a living. You do you. But let's be honest, not every great athlete makes a great coach. And that's as true in strongman as it is in the NFL, NBA,
100%.
NHL, plenty of other sports, right? I mean, I'll tell you, I feel like I'm a better coach than I was an athlete, just being honest, right? And I wasn't that great of an athlete. But, not every great athlete makes a great coach. So for us, because we are dealing with people we want to provide a really high quality level of coaching to, there are requirements you have to meet. Number one, first and foremost, you have to be a certified strength conditioning coach, personal trainer, and whether that's a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree in exercise science, kinesiology, physical education, or if it's just a certification from an accredited institution like NSCA, ISSA, NASM, right? You have to be able to show us that you've studied this stuff and you do know what you're doing.
You get it. Yeah.
Correct. You get it. Yep. We just can't have this be, amateur hour. So number one, you have to be certified. Number two, you have to agree, like I said, to use the Train Heroic app. Everybody's got a phone, right? So you have to agree, I'm going to use the Train Heroic app to deliver the programming versus, again, Google Sheets and Excel spreadsheets and Word documents, because we have to be able to track this data. So number one, certified. Number two, use the app. Number three, because we are going to be potentially dealing with individuals who may be in crisis, right? We need to know that our coaches have at least a basic level of understanding of how to deal with potential situations where somebody, texts them, emails them, calls them and says, hey, I'm in a bad way. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. So there's a program that we found, a certification that we found through the National Association of EMTs called Mental Health Resilience Officer Certification. It's $100, 8 hours online. We're going to reimburse our coaches for it, but every coach has to agree. You're going to take this course. Once you're done, you send me the receipt. You show me that you completed it, and I'll send you the $100, to make sure that it's done.
Sure.
And reimburse you for it. So those are the first three. Then we get into, if you go to our website, you can see we have a code of conduct, a code of ethics, because unfortunately, again, you and I have been in this long enough to know the not just strongman, but the health and fitness industry, I think, is there's a certain subset population of some shady folks. So we've got a code of conduct that everybody has to agree to. We are going to do just a basic criminal history background check, because I don't want to find out, 3 months, 6 months after the fact that we've hired somebody as a coach and they've got a conviction for, domestic, battery or abuse. We can't go down that road. We can't take that risk. So you have to agree as a coach that we're going to do a background check. And then the final piece is you've got to have your own insurance. We're not going to be paying for anybody's insurance, but this is not amateur hour. We want people who know what they're doing, who are serious about this.
It's funny that you say insurance or not funny, but like it's just such a thing which I don't think anybody really looks at for online coaching. But at the end of the day, it's like, you need a general liability, because
absolutely
you are telling you are still what's the word? God, why am I blanking? You're instructing somebody on something,
Yeah. Yes, we don't want to take those chances. We don't want to take those risks. So I've got a lawyer on my board, and he's guiding me on, how to minimize risk here, minimize risk there. You know how lawyers are. So glad to have him on board.
No, I totally get it. So in terms of the coaching, obviously it's active, it's open, and active members are eligible to apply for coaching.
Correct.
We've spoken in the past about different cohorts and how it's going to work. What's the plan there? Because basically it's one-on-one coaching with an athlete, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Well, so the plan right now is, I had a conversation with Lynn Coughlin, who founded the Catch a Lift Fund. They do a lot of similar work to what we're trying to do or will be doing. And she said, Mike, you got to be mindful of the budget, right? Don't overpromise. And right now, the budget's not very big. So I'm in full on, fundraising mode. So if anybody is watching this and you support veterans, please hit the donate button on our website. But I'm going to basically base how many athletes we can take into a cohort based on how our fundraising goes. And if we, get a decent response and we get a decent chunk of cash that we can coach, a lot of athletes, then we'll do that. But it's going to have to be scaled, and it may vary from cohort to cohort and year to year. Basically, Lynn was explaining to me how she plans out her year based on her budget. So right now, I just announced this recently. So again, the budget is small. I'm hoping to see that grow over the summer. And by fall, by September, October, I would love to launch that first cohort of, 10 to 20 athletes and get them in the program and get them going so that we can get them started and into the sport and see some success.
For sure. So with that, with the cohort, how does that work from a perspective of the coaches? Would that be a case of it's one coach working with an entire cohort, or do you have multiple coaches working with, hey, if you get 10 people, you've got, 2 coaches working with, one-on-one with 5 athletes each, or what's the breakdown from that perspective?
I'm going to answer it with, it depends. My plan right now is I've got 4 coaches on our roster. I'd love to get that roster to about 10 coaches. And then have each coach have maybe 2 athletes. So we're not overwhelming anybody, right? But every coach has a couple athletes. As we grow, maybe a coach has, 3, 4, 5 athletes. But again, I'm not looking to have these coaches. I'm not looking to have this be their full-time gig. It's more of like, I've got really good coaches who, again, want to help a veteran or 2. And so we'll scale it based on, again, what the budget allows and what our capacity allows as far as how many coaches we've got, and what their capacity is. I should also mention, I talk a lot about crawl, walk, run. And right now we're in the crawling phase, just getting this thing going. But my vision and my dream, my hope for year 3, 4, 5 down the road is once we get a few of these cohorts to go through our program and we've got athletes, veteran athletes who are being coached, maybe somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I'd like to be a coach. Or maybe we identify someone who really seems to take to this and does well and just seems to be the right mindset, right personality. And we approach them and say, hey, have you ever thought about, being a coach? Because I'd love to be able to train the coaches. And as you pointed out, neither one of us serve. Can we coach people? Sure, we can, give people advice and coach them up. But there's an extra point of connection that a veteran has with another veteran that we'll never have. We'll never experience that because we didn't serve. And so ideally, 5, 10 years down the road, I'd love for my roster of coaches to be either entirely veterans or majority veterans. I just think that's going to allow these men and women
that changes the whole dynamic. Changes everything.
I remember Lee telling me he can walk into any VFW hall, any American Legion hall, because he's a veteran, right? And he'll be able to connect with anybody in there, regardless of what branch, whether it's a Marine, someone was in the Navy. Doesn't have to be Army, right? But you served, right? So you kind of have that same, level of commitment they have.
100%. Yeah, no, I totally understand. So with that, how do they apply for coaching? How does somebody, apply? I'm assuming obviously there's an application process. Is there certain things you look for? How does that work?
Great question.
For right now, at least.
Yeah, for right now, I'm pointing everybody to the website. And I will say, since we announced this a couple of weeks ago, I do have applications coming in from people who want to be coaches. I've got applications coming in from people who want to be coached. So there is a page on vsastrong.org for both of those things. So you can sign up to be an active or supporting member. You can sign up and request, coaching. You can sign up and apply to be a coach. And basically the process is, you put the application in. We've got some criteria that, we established with the coaches. Again, you got to do the background check. You've got to do the NAEMT, certification. But a lot of this, again, is dependent on budget. So I can't say at this point how many coaches we're going to end up with. We may only end up with, 6 coaches for the first cohort. But if I get enough, money to come in through fundraising and we can afford to, pay 10 coaches, then let's build that out and grow that cohort. But I would encourage anybody who's watching, if you are a veteran and if you want to be a coach, apply. Especially if you're a veteran, you want to be a coach. I'd love to get more veteran coaches on our staff. But if you're a veteran who if you've been curious about strongman, maybe you've been powerlifting, and you just kind of want to dip your toe in, hit us up, fill the application out, and let's talk.
Yeah, and then to lead on from that, you said about maybe if you've been powerlifting and you want to dip your toe into strongman.
Yeah,
For right now, the plan with VSA is coaching, strongman specific coaching, not like
correct.
powerlifting or general strength and conditioning.
Correct. Yeah. Back to that crawl, walk, run sort of approach. Crawling is just getting this thing started. Walking is getting to a place where we can, coach some of the coaches. And then the running part, maybe 10 plus years down the road, God willing, we get there. I would love to see us expand into other strength sports. I would love to be able to see our offering grow beyond just strength training programming. Maybe we get
Mm-hmm.
into nutrition and some other
Yeah,
general wellness, counseling. I want to be very clear though, we are not mental health, service providers. We're not therapists or, clinical. We're not that at all. Right. So please
yeah,
don't come to us and think you're going to get, therapy. That's not what we're doing. We don't want to pretend to be that. It's all about getting people healthy, active, getting them up off the couch, getting them moving and getting them stronger. I
sure.
think the reason for that, we've also talked about um, the benefits of, exercise, movement is medicine, right? But the
Yeah,
benefits, especially of strength training, it reduces symptoms of depression, anxiety, improves sleep quality, improves cognitive, brain function. And, if somebody comes in and gets stronger over the course of 3, 6 months, a year, think about
mm-hmm.
it. It's a boost to their self-confidence, their self-esteem. So there's a
Yeah.
ton
Oh
of
God,
benefits, to strength training, not just strongman, but strength training, right?
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think, I think there's not enough people view lifting weights as something that's, you know, I think people view it as always it's a physical endeavor and it's a
Yeah.
I'm going to get stronger, I'm going to look better, or whatever it may be, and they completely miss the entire other side of it, which
Yeah.
is the mental side. And I think for
It's
you've
therapeutic.
spoken about this, it's massively therapeutic, and we've also you and I have spoken about this that with the veteran community, they're coming from a space where for massive portions of their life they have had very stringent structure.
Right.
Again, we can only assume as to what some of these things are, from talking to friends who are in the community, or what you see online or movies and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But it's like it's a massive transition back to civilian life is what I'm led to believe, at least.
Yeah, and I think for some it's harder than others. And to your point, this is not just go to the gym. I talked to a guy who was a SEAL. He was in the teams for I think like 8, 10 years, and he went to the VA and he was having trouble sleeping. And the doctor wanted to write him a prescription. He's like, "Whoa, doc, hang on! You already got me on like 8 different meds. You want to give me a ninth prescription? Like, I don't want to take any more
Jeez.
pills, right?" And he's like, "Well, what are you doing? As far as exercise, physical activity?" He goes, "Well, I'm really, I don't know, not much." He goes, "We got to go to the gym." Well, go to the gym and do what, right? So our mindset, our approach with the VSA is don't just go to the gym. Like you've got mission purpose. It's specific. Go to the gym
Yeah,
and train for this sport that you will hopefully then want to compete in. So it's more than just that sort of ethereal, oh, just go to the gym. What, walk on the treadmill, do some bicep curls, like bench press, like
yeah,
what? No,
yeah,
this
yeah.
is specific. It gives them specific mission purpose.
I didn't even think about it from that perspective, where you are driving home that very real purpose versus oh, go to the gym and exercise. Like
Yeah.
how many times have we spoken about that, though? Over the course of the years, where you know you talk to someone and it's like, oh, you just gotta start going to the gym, go to the gym, and then not discrediting anybody, but you go to some of these gyms, some of the more commercial facilities,
Yeah.
and it's like, man, like there's no one really pushing. Like
People
there'll
going
be
through
the
the
odd
motions
one
all the
here and
time.
there, and
Yeah.
but they don't. It's different, and I think that's what you just said there with like the specific mission purpose changes the entire outlook, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know, again, I don't know from experience. I know from talking to dozens of
Yeah.
veterans, they get out and that sense of identity, that sense of mission purpose, it's gone. Like you said, the daily accountability that they structure, it's gone. They don't have a commanding officer anymore, right? They're on
Hmm.
their own. They're not required to do regular PT, right? That's gone. It's out the window.
Yeah.
So, this is regular physical activity. That immediate support group of their unit, their platoon, it's gone. And so, strongman is, you and I both know, the listen, we're all a little bit weird, right? We put
Oh, yeah.
ourselves
Yep.
through hell physically, but as weird as we are, we're a pretty friendly, welcoming bunch, right? We bring, anybody in. And my hope is that as a veteran, who needs this, experiences that and gets into this community. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Lee Woody, George Pearson, Dennis Long, Jim Moore. I can rattle off a bunch of guys I know who I've met and become friends with who are veterans. That community is already there. It's already in strongman now. And those are the old guys. There's younger guys too. But it's like, let's grow that community that's already there and make it bigger within strongman of the veterans, right? Because as much as you and I and the rest of the civilian strongman, will welcome anybody, man, those veterans, like they will get a hold of each other it can take off.
It's a different thing. One question I had with regard to the community aspect of it and with the cohorts and all that sort of stuff. Is there going to be any interaction? Say you've got a cohort that's got 10 people. Do you have a community base for that in terms of like, a WhatsApp group, one of the old school forums,
right?
Facebook group, or anything like that, where these cohorts or even the active members as a whole can go and communicate and
no, good question. And we interact. Do. The plan right now is, each coach will have their check-ins with their athletes, and that's on them, schedule dependent. But I do want to put together at least a weekly, if not bi-weekly, call it a rally point, a cohort call, whether that's Zoom or, some way to bring those people together week after week to kind of recreate that unit style camaraderie, and people can commiserate about their training or, whatever they want to talk about. Occasionally I might bring in somebody to talk about nutrition.
Yes.
And for example, Lee's on our board, Gabby Burkholzer is on our board. Bring those guys in as former military. So again, kind of share their experience and talk to some of these men and women about the transition. But yeah, we definitely want to bring these people together on a regular basis so they can feel that sense of camaraderie. Yep.
Yeah, that was my big one. Was like, how does it all meld together into that community unit aspect that they had.
Yep.
No, that makes complete sense. So with that, from the fundraising perspective, obviously, budget's low right now. You need to grow the budget. I know obviously the Veterans Endurance Challenge is part of the fundraising plan. What else do you have going on for fundraising for the association and
so right now it's me and the board reaching out to our contacts. I've had a little bit of success, some of my contacts, people in my network, and really just the awareness is helping, because I've got several friends who work in the financial planning, investment management world, and now that they are aware of this, if they're having a conversation with one of their clients or they overhear somebody talking about what do I do with my donor advised funds this year, and they know that person supports veterans, great, here's a great organization. In fact, I just got a check last week from a former client of mine from their donor advised fund. So, the stuff that we get on our website is great, but that's not going to fund the whole operation. Yeah. So really just spreading the word, creating awareness, anything we can get will help us, pay more coaches. Sure. And with more coaches we can hire, then the more veterans we can help.
Yeah, no, this is with it being a non-profit, are you eligible for government grants and all that sort of stuff?
We are eligible, but one thing I've learned in terms of grants is that as a startup, we don't really have any track record or history of results. We haven't done anything yet. So grants are on my radar for probably at least a year, if not 2 years down the road, once we can show some success that we've had. And then absolutely, right? So there are, obviously there's government grants, there are private foundations that do grants, but we need to get some traction first and actually do some good work before we can apply for grants. So really right now, it's just the private donations or corporate donations and pointing again to these Veterans Endurance Challenge fundraisers. Yeah.
Got you. Because what are they looking for when you apply for a grant? Like what sort of things are they looking for from a perspective of success with the nonprofit?
One of the things they want to make sure is that the bulk of your money coming in through donations is actually going to your programs and not, padding somebody's bank account.
Yeah.
I remember, Wounded Warrior Project several years ago had a big issue with some of their C-level executives, taking lavish trips and, really, crazy spending. And that's never going to be me, first of all. But you kind of got to watch the ratio, right? So for me, I'm looking at right now getting to where it's like 80-20 or 90-10, where the majority of the money we've got coming in is going to actually pay our coaches to provide the coaching for these veterans, or it's, helping us go and do a seminar here, there, or, wherever. Sure. It's not, I'm not doing it to make my bank account. I haven't made any money on this, and I won't for a while.
No, I completely get it.
But right now that's the hardest part, honestly, is the fundraising.
Yeah, no, I bet it is. Do you have any plan to, obviously, with it being a case that you're not a competitor to a strongman federation, is there purview there to potentially, work together in some way, shape, or form to even just get the word out there,
Yeah, I would hope so. I would love to. I just haven't had a chance to really follow up with any of the folks at USS or Strongman Corp yet. I've been having tons of conversations with, again, people who I know in my network about fundraising. Actually, Gabby has been super helpful connecting me with some people in her network about, the initiative and what we're doing. The response has been overwhelmingly positive. But, the most powerful, tool is word of mouth. So hopefully people see this and they think, oh, this is cool. I'm going to check it out. Go to the website.
For sure.
Follow us on, social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. But as our following grows and the word starts to spread, hopefully, it'll take off.
For sure. What's the usernames on Facebook and Instagram?
It's really just Veterans Strongman Association. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just search Veterans Strongman Association, and it's there. I've actually been kind of cross promoting with my own personal Instagram, because I've got about 2,700 followers, and the Veterans Strongman Association right now is about 150, 200. So it's bigger reach on my page.
Oh no, I totally get it. Totally, completely understand that one. With it all, I mean, when are you? Maybe you said this before, and I missed it.
That's right.
When are you planning to do the first online competition? Are you basically trying to get membership to a certain point?
Yeah, I think.
Are you trying to do it where end of the year you'd like to do one of those or anything like that?
I would say at this point we're looking at probably 2027 before we would do either one of those competitions, because we need.
I was about to say, wow, 2 years away, and then I realized it's 2026.
Yeah. No, we need to grow the membership base and get enough people coming in, because I'd love to do something in, again, 2027, whether that's, mid-year, end of year. I think the in-person competition will probably happen first, and then the virtual one, because that also requires some technical infrastructure to, build on the site. But I would say we're probably a year away from that happening. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, in my opinion, it's hugely beneficial. I'm very excited to see what you do with it.
Thank you.
I think it's something that we can really need, or we can, one, the community really needs, and then two, can be really built upon and scaled, because ultimately, I feel like there's a lot of people who are veterans that they're so, and maybe I'm wrong on this, maybe I'm presumptuous or not, but I feel like there's a lot of times you see this person, it's the whole the high school footballer, like back in my day, and he was in great shape and all that sort of stuff, and then what happened? Well, it's again, like, you're in the military, you're serving your country, you're putting your life on the fucking line, and I think this is very apt that we're having this conversation just a couple of days after Memorial Day as well. But you do all that, and then the support when you come home is minuscule.
Yeah.
And it
you
blows
just
my
reminded
mind.
me.
Yep.
Sorry, you just reminded me when you said, put your life on the line. I have been asked by a few people, are you going to open this up or offer this to law enforcement, firefighters, first responders? And the answer is maybe, but not now. We got to start small. We got to start and stay in our lane and focus on strongmen and focus on veterans. And the distinction that I would make is this: Lee Woody, Gabby Burkholzer, anybody out there, strongman, non-strongman, if you are someone who serves or has served in our military, you signed that contract with the U.S. government and you're committed. You can't get out of it. If you walk away, you're AWOL. It's a federal offense. You're going to jail. You're going to prison, right? With a firefighter, with a police officer, a paramedic, you can quit, right? I mean, maybe you don't want to, but you can quit that job, right? And go do something else. Certainly the stress level is very similar. Certainly there are people in those jobs who put their lives on the line. So life and death is true of all of that. But paramedics, firefighters, law enforcement, you can quit. You've got an out. Someone in the Marines, someone in the Army, the Navy, you can't. You told Uncle Sam you're on board for 4 years. You're on board for 4 years. So that was kind of the decision we made, was to focus at least initially on veterans. When I go back to that, crawl, walk, run, someday down the road, would I like to open this up and grow it and expand it? Absolutely, 100%, right? The other thing, too, that we didn't mention is I've been asked about adaptive strongman, right? My neighbor down the street runs the emergency room at the VA, not too far from my house. He's like, oh, I got to get you down here with the amputees and show them. I'm like, whoa, hang on a second. Like, that's not experience that I have. It requires a lot more specialized equipment and specialized knowledge of how to adjust things for that population. Do they need it? 100%. Absolutely. But again, that's not where we are now in the crawling phase, and probably not even walking. That's probably 5+ years down the road, but I would love to get there. So, I mean, the vision is, a lot bigger than what we have right now, but right now we are in full on startup mode, just trying to get this thing off the ground.
No, I completely get it. And that's the thing, like, there's veteran in every single country, and there's so many people that need the assistance and need the support and all that sort of stuff. But again, you have to start somewhere. Like, there's no point, offering it to someone across the world when this demographic is very much still, building. And I think that's
for us
the way
to be
it's going to go.
Successful, we have to start small. We can't bite off more than we can chew out of the gate.
No, because I don't even know how you'd manage some of that stuff. It's a hell of a thing. We spoke about this. I want to touch on this. If you have anyone with the international side of stuff, I know we said that we weren't going to touch on this a little, but I wanted to ask this question. If you have someone who's viewing what you're doing over here, and they're interested in replicating that model, are you open to conversations about that and all that sort of stuff in other countries?
Yep.
Cool.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. I just don't think at this point we're not. I mean, listen, I've only got a handful of applications from people in the U.S. for coaching. I don't have anybody internationally. But when you get into that conversation, it's part of it's logistics and just schedule and time zones. Part of it's also, I guess, legality and liability, which again, I haven't gone down that road. Again, would I be open to it? Yeah, but that's that's years down the road.
I'm assuming there has to be. There's probably something to do with, I would assume at least that, if say for instance in 5 years' time you have a grant from the government. I'm assuming that they're going to have some sort of term that this needs to be spent in the U.S. and all that sort of stuff.
And you're right. And there are, there's restricted funds and there's unrestricted funds, right? So I've learned that too. So unrestricted funds are great because I can use them for whatever. Restricted funds are limited to just this money is for your program to do this. That's it. That's all I can use those dollars for. And at this point, I will take whatever we can get.
Oh, 100%.
Up and running. So.
Yeah. So what's the best thing that people can do in the interim as it's building and all that sort of stuff? Honestly, obviously sharing the page and all that sort of stuff. What else is that the best thing people can do? Just
it is word of mouth, man. Word of mouth. Tell your friends. If you know someone who's a veteran who you think might be into this, or if you know somebody who's a veteran who maybe they go to the gym or they don't go to the gym, right? But that you think this would help them. Let them know. Send them a link to our website. Send them to our social media. But we're looking for, growing that membership database, growing the social media presence, because as that social media presence grows, we're going to touch more people. I'm trying to be better about how I tag things and hashtag and @mention and, all this stuff. Because I'm old, man. I'm not a digital native, so I'm learning as I go. Word of mouth is super powerful. So yeah, right now that's the biggest help is just spread the word. And then if you've got an extra $50 you want to donate, you want a tax
Sure.
write-off for 2026, hit that donate button on our website. That'd be super helpful.
No, completely. With the mailing list, I want to touch upon that.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to start, putting some content out from that aspect? Email services and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yep.
I just want to fill people in. Like if they do sign up to the mailing list, is there things that they get now, later, plans, and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah. For right now, it's just I'm collecting the information. But when we get to a point where I feel like we've got enough members and a big enough list that we can sustain it over time, then yeah, I'd love to do a monthly email newsletter. Just like a lot of people, right? I'm not going to spam people out. I don't have the capacity to do one every week, but I think a
Yeah.
monthly email newsletter and just highlight, what we're doing as far as the events, seminars, member spotlights, success stories. There's an
Sure.
organization that I've supported for years called Canines for Warriors. And I
Mhm.
love what they do with their social media and their marketing. So I'm trying to from an aspirational standpoint, trying to do what they do. And I'd
Yeah.
love to get to a point 6 months down the road where we've kicked off a monthly email newsletter. We've had an athlete go through, a few weeks or a few months of programming, and they've gotten stronger. They've done their first competition, and then kind of share their story, with
Sure.
our
Sure.
members.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes complete sense. Have I missed anything? Is there
No,
anything
we
else
covered
you
it all,
want to touch
man.
upon? Yeah, I
No, I
just
think
wanted
we
to
hit
try and,
everything. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
of course. Yeah, they're like again, I love this project. I think it's gravely needed. I think there's not enough support at all. One thing that um, I've said this to multiple people over the years. One thing that was really impactful for me moving in stateside was just
Yeah.
how different the appreciation to military members is
Hmm.
compared to the UK. Like I always felt like it was never really viewed as a grateful undertaking, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
It always felt like, and I know that there's societal changes and,
Sure.
over the last few years and all that sort of stuff, but it's like, if someone's willing to put their life on the line to protect,
Right.
our way of life,
Right.
whether it's stateside, UK, Australia, wherever it may be, like,
Right.
in my opinion, then they should be respected, like
Yeah. And taken care of.
they should be supported.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that I noticed massively moving stateside was like just how different the level of support was. Um, and it's sad to me that it's still a case that, you know, even with that support,
Yeah.
there's still it doesn't scratch the surface of really
Right.
what's needed to truly support members when they come home.
Well, and I say this all the time, like our mission is to save lives. And that number, 6,400. I mean, if we can save one life, then I'm going to feel
Mhm.
like we won.
Yep.
I'm not so naive as to think there are 40,000, plus veteran service organizations in this country, which is a lot. Um,
Yeah,
you
huge.
know, but if we can save one life or a handful of lives, then we've done good. And I
Yeah,
do think
fully.
that this sport and this project is a way that we'll be able to make that impact.
And I fully agree with you. And I think the difference that we have with Strongman is that community basis. And I think that's why it's so unique to anything else really out there.
Agreed.
Um, I'm really hoping that people jump on this and they start running with it and it gets the attention it deserves because I truly, truly believe that it really can impact a lot of people and it can change lives. It can save
Yeah.
lives, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what you do with it. And I've told you this off the air previously. Like you've got my support with it 100%. Like
I really
anything I
appreciate
can
that.
do personally, like I'm more than happy to support it.
Thank you.
And I hope a lot of other people join that join that join that cause.
Much appreciated.
Of course, man. We'll wrap it up. If there's anything I missed, if there's anything you want to add to put a button on things, please
I
do.
think we're good,
Um,
man. No,
all
I
right,
mean,
cool.
kind of like that scene from Jerry Maguire, "Help me, help you." So it's like,
Yeah,
help us, help you, right? Spread the
yeah.
word. Help us, we'll help you. Yeah.
I like it. Cool.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Well, hey, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Um, If anyone's got any questions, reach out to VSA. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, website. Mike is an open book with this stuff, and I think this is something that we all need to really lean into and really support as a community. So, hey, Mike, thanks for coming on.
Thank you very
again,
much.
I really cannot say how excited I am to see where this goes in the next months, weeks, years. All that sort of stuff.
Me too.
Hey, thanks, Mike.
Thanks.